we're going to get started. Thank you everybody for coming to this session. We have a awesome session planned for you. Steve Simpson is going to be our speaker today. So Steve is a former junior high social studies teacher and a social studies instructional specialist. Steve joined Arlington ISD's Instructional Technology Department in 2014. As digital learning specialist, his work involved the adoption of Canvas and currently focuses on its district-wide implementation via blended learning and professional learning activities. And we'd also invite you to follow Steve on Twitter at AISD Digital Learn. Everybody, welcome Steve.
Thank you. My name is Steve Simpson. Thank you for that introduction. This session is being live streamed on Canvas Live, so just be aware I'm going to try to handle both components of the presentation well. My name, my district. As was stated, we've been working in Arlington for a couple of years now at Canvas, and it was my pleasure to kind of be a part of bringing Canvas to Arlington and implementing it with our teachers and students. We're still in the process, obviously, of that and K-12. So I really want to quickly transition to this URL. So you've got your laptop or phone, hopefully either the URL here, and if you're following along online, same thing's true. The kind of cool thing about this session, hopefully the way it's going to work, is that it's blended. You're going to do about 20 minutes of work independently in this course, working through some content material. There's a variety of kind of interactive opportunities. I'm going to describe those to you here for a moment. But the people who are working remotely in the course have the same opportunity to participate as if they were here. If the next 20 minutes is your independent work through that content, the final 10 can be our kind of debrief. If you have questions, we certainly can reserve time for that at the end. So this session is titled Win the Trifecta: Blended Learning, T-TESS, and Canvas in some order. I can't remember the order. And when I think about how can I help convince teachers blended learning instructionally and structurally within their classroom, I have to be able to make it relevant to how they're appraised, right? And in Arlington, we now have a T-TESS, right, appraisal framework, as I'm assuming most of you must have in your districts, otherwise you probably wouldn't have chosen the session. And the notion was, how can there be a tool that I could sit down with a teacher or provide to teachers or provide to campus administrators? And just by show of hands, are there any campus administrators here? Principals or assistant principals? Okay. How can we work with individuals from an instructional technology perspective on trying to get them to realize that moving towards blended learning in their classrooms is moving towards a student-centered learning environment? And when you look at the T-TESS rubric, right, from right to left, you're basically moving towards areas of distinction. If you look at the descriptors, right, on the left-hand side of this rubric, many of those things would be very difficult to reach as a teacher on an ongoing, I don't mean like the one-off where you observe, right, on an ongoing, everyday basis without leveraging a digital platform, in this case Canvas, and without using blended learning strategies. So what you're going to find in the course that you've accessed, hopefully successfully, if you're having trouble, I can come around and help you out. It's a public. Is anyone accessing the course successfully? If you're having issues, did you scan the QR code or input the URL? Okay, click on modules, home. So some people are having some success, some others not. Give it a try, and then we can troubleshoot in a minute. So what you're going to find in the course is that there's some information about me, but you can quickly bypass that. Skip down to the objectives. And these are the objectives for our session. You guys are going to kind of brainstorm and report out on an embedded Padlet, right, in this publicly accessible Canvas course, why it might be useful to think about the connections between T-TESS, blended learning, and Canvas. You're going to then really quickly transition to the next section, right, of the course, which is seeing this tool that I created, and basically I was given the opportunity. I'm a certified principal, but I'm not a principal. I don't have the courage. So I did T-TESS training last summer. I approached our director of professional learning and said, hey, I want to go to T-TESS training with the lens of trying to identify how I can create a tool that would allow us to purposefully, coach blended learning and its implementation in Arlington through Canvas. That's what I did. So you're going to read a little bit about just the background of the tool if you care to. Most importantly, though, you want to explore that resource. I'm calling it the T-TESS Blended Learning Look Fors tool. It's in there, it's embedded, you can download it in case you want to take it and reference it yourself, or in your district, make your own version of it. There's very little actually that's specific to Arlington. So if you can take it wholesale and use it next week back in your district, I'd encourage you to. I think it's a win-win when we can share things like this. So I'm happy to provide that to you today. And then the final thing in your time independently is going to be share something on an embedded today's meet on a Canvas page later on, of course. Share something that excites you about thinking, how might I leverage this tool or apply it in my work, whether I'm a classroom teacher, a district IT support, instructional technology support individual, or I'm a campus administrator. Okay, are there any questions? All right, I'm going to turn off the mic, and I'm going to actually transition to the course myself, and I'm going to real quickly then ask who else is maybe experiencing difficulty. Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious if you did it in QR code and then you go to open in Safari from your QR reader.
Thank you for that troubleshooting suggestion. So on my watch, 20 minutes, but it's just perfect. It'll give us 10 minutes. We can talk about what you've seen, debrief, ask questions. So I'm venturing a little trust here. I like modeling what I coach, right? So, I could stand and talk to you guys, but let's try something that we want to see in classrooms. So go ahead, venture into this content at your pace, at your desired preference of interaction, and we'll come back together in 20 minutes time. for those of you that are accessing on your phones, I'm going to pull up the actual look for tool, just one of the pages. That way you have a chance to kind of see it in a slightly larger and less cumbersome way. The core of it is on pages 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if that's any more beneficial, but some of you guys are looking at some pretty small screens. Time kind of flies. So just if you're a teacher, I'd urge you to consider, once you've got eyes on that tool, think about how could you sit down with your appraiser, whether the dean or the assistant principal or whoever it might be, how could you utilize this document to have a shared or paired conversation with your appraiser to help them understand what to look for? Because you deserve evidence. You deserve that your appraiser can find and give you credit for the evidence for the things you're doing in Canvas that might not be apparent in that traditional face-to-face classroom environment. So think about that if you haven't yet. About 5 minutes until I'd like to open things up to maybe a face-to-face discussion about what you've seen. So if you haven't, you've taken a little time to look at and kind of orient yourself to the way this resource has been designed, and hopefully you've thought about some ways it might be useful to you. If you haven't, would you please click on this content page and go ahead and enter the today's meet that's embedded here and post the thought. And it's my thinking that this course is not going to be like, it's not going to go dark, you know, when this session ends. I'm going to leave this publicly available so that if you didn't have a chance to really go deep or go back to the Padlet, see what some people were thinking, go back to today's meet so you can see what people have reported about, you know, what they think they might utilize. If you want to tweet to win the trifecta, right, we can kind of keep an ongoing conversation about this resource and how it's being utilized in your various districts much, you know, subsequent or after this time together. So if you haven't, I'd encourage you to go ahead and go to today's meet discussion, and that's where we can kind of begin maybe our conversation in 4 minutes time. Okay, well, we've come to 11:30, I believe, right? So we've got like 10 minutes. And I did want to say something about the approach here. So you saw in the resource, the way I built this out, I was trying to make it obviously kind of a pretty quick side-by-side. So if I have my T-TESS rubric, right, as an appraiser or as the appraisee teacher, and I've got this side-by-side, I can very quickly kind of identify. Now I try to use very specific Canvas language since we're a Canvas district, right? So this tool, frankly, if there's a district using Schoology or Blackboard or they have their own Moodle, I mean, in a way, this tool could still be leveraged or adjusted, but it is Canvas specific. So hopefully as Canvas districts, you find that beneficial. When you look at the item call, blended teaching competencies, I just want to point out to you that I had to kind of pick and choose. If you've ever looked at that document, there are a lot, right? And I had to kind of identify and pull the ones I felt like were most linked to, for example, Dimension 1.1 standards and alignments. Okay? And then thought, in the way I know we can use Canvas, what could be a look for, right, for either a teacher or the appraiser. So there was a question, a good question over here on the side of the room, about how we plan on using this in Arlington. This document has existed for about 6 or 7 months. So I did it like in August. So it's been in place. It's available to people that know where to look right now. But our chief academic officer really believes in making sure principals are able to lead implementation of things, right, at campuses. So we're actually going to have the ability next Thursday for the first time to talk with all principals in Arlington, that's like 70 roughly principals, and orient them to this document. And the beauty of doing things in Canvas is that I can basically use a lot of the same course with them. So thanks for helping me, I guess, identify 30 issues, because I can get this worked out by next Thursday very easily. So I'm going to shut up. Another thing I really like about this kind of environment, I didn't have to talk much. As a teacher, I kind of eventually got sick of my own voice. And people that have seen me at campuses like Todd Miller here in the back of the room, he knows that I can talk for hours at a time. But I'm choosing to not do that now. So are there any questions or thoughts or comments about how this tool might be of value and could be leveraged in your work back in your district? Okay, I'm gonna come over here and play talk show host. So Caitlin, you said a lot. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I feel like so many administrators are used to evaluating teachers based on how well they stand in front of the teach, even though teachers are being told not to do that anymore. And yet that's the way that a lot of administrators, old school administrators, that's the only way, that's the only thing they know. And so when they walk into a room and see 30 students on computers, they're not sure what to do or how to evaluate. And if the teacher is sitting there, like sometimes I'll sit at my computer and I'll be giving feedback on students' work, on Google Docs or whatever. So it looks like we're all just sitting there playing a game. And we're actually all very engaged. And so it's hard for some administrators to see that. And I think this tool really gives them a resource to see how this interact.
Thanks for sharing that. This also kind of has to be coupled with the administrator having access to the sub-accounts or to your course in some way, shape, or form. That would depend probably on the way your account is set up in the district. But we in Arlington, we've provided access to the sub-accounts where campus courses live, and that allows them, if they know how, right, to navigate Canvas, and coupled with this tool to hopefully be able to gather evidence in an effective way. And do it. Okay, I'll try to answer that briefly. We adopted Canvas. We launched Canvas roughly 2 years ago, almost kind of to the day. It was February of whatever that was. And we adopted the previous summer, and implementation just took a bit of time. It was really on our programmatic side that there was some delays. So we kind of launched mid-year. That year was largely a wash, except for a few people who are like early adopters, and many of them are here, so thanks Arlington for helping us out in that early window of time. So we have a strategic plan that is going to highlight or prioritize blended and online learning in 1819, right? So when this new 5-year plan was created, that's the 3rd year of it. We had to stop and think, okay, we can't just assume that all of a sudden 1819, we're able to say, you know, lights are on and we're blended in, you know, we're offering online course opportunities. We're actually making more inroads in the blended right now than we are in the fully online opportunities like the friends of Katie have been able to accomplish. So with that all being said, we want to scaffold and build the awareness and ability level of not just our teachers, but also our administrators. And thinking about how we were going to be rolling out T-TESS, in my opinion, everything should be tied to T-TESS. That's how you can make it relevant. And if I can demonstrate to a teacher how their work in Canvas and or using Canvas for blended learning purposes can enhance the outcomes they receive from their appraiser related to their professional growth goals, that seems to be a win-win-win, right? I think that's the trifecta coming back around. Is that? I'm happy to talk a bit more later on. Does anybody else have a question or comment? Okay, well, just give me a thumbs up since we are on the face-to-face, and we can still use traditional face-to-face practices, right, to leverage both what's good in the online and good in the face-to-face. Give me a thumbs up if you think this tool might be of value to you for the remainder of the school year or looking ahead. Okay, thank you. That's good to know. Otherwise, we would have wasted your time in my session today. So, this course will be available. And let me just pull up the final component real fast. I don't really know if Canvas has, if Instructure has any mechanism to gather your feedback today. But I always, whether it's a district session or my own sessions, I always really appreciate feedback that you can provide me. So this is a Google form. You should be able to access it to anyone with the link. So I'd love your feedback on my session today for my own growth. I mentioned the principal meeting next week. So again, anything specific to, hey, this was cumbersome, this was irrelevant, I can pull that out because my time with them will be limited and precious. So any feedback you can give me on that would be awesome. And then I did, because I know some people, and there's actually a session I think going on right now from my friends in Region 11, and they're talking about all the different ways you can embed stuff in Canvas using the HTML editor. I wanted to go ahead and provide you guys a flyer. This is an embedded s'more. And on this flyer, as you scroll down, I'm kind of citing the external tools that I used in this course in case you want to explore those further. And the challenge of this course, and you probably noticed, is that because it's publicly facing, I couldn't leverage a lot of the internal Canvas components like a discussion, right? Instead, I had to bring something external and place it on that public-facing content page that we still have access to. So thank you for your time. All right. Hey, you guys have a really good third session and enjoy your lunch to follow and enjoy the rest of your day at CanvasCon. Thanks.